This time we are taking you to China. Not the China you see in the news, the skyscrapers and bullet trains and neon cities that never sleep. We are going to the other China, the one they do not put in the brochures. The China of dirt roads and empty stomachs and villages so far from the cities that electricity is something other people have. The China where a boy can grow up eating corn for 4 months and potatoes for 8 and think about pork the way other kids think about Christmas. Imagine this. It is 1973. You are born in a village called Chang'an, just outside a town called Suqian in the Jiangsu province. Your father, Liu Qiangdong, and your mother, Wang Xiaoxia, are poor farmers. The family used to be wealthy. Generations ago, your ancestors were ship owners who moved goods up and down the Yangtze River. But the revolution took everything. By the time you arrive, there is nothing left but a mud house, a fishing net, and the kind of hunger that sits in your stomach like a stone. Your village has no running water, no electricity, no paved roads, no telephone, no television. You eat meat once, maybe twice a year. When your mother comes home carrying a small piece of pork wrapped in newspaper, your heart beats faster than it does on any holiday. You and your sister sit at the table watching her cook it, and the smell fills the entire house like a prayer being answered. Your childhood dream is not to become rich or famous. You do not even know what that means. Your dream is to become the village leader, so you can make sure everyone in Chang'an gets to eat pork more than twice a year. That is it. That is the entire ambition of a boy whose world is 3 square kilometers of dirt and corn. That is the size of the dream, not $1 billion, pork. Then one day, as a teenager, you save enough money, coin by coin, to take a bus to Nanjing, a real city about 3 hours away. And when you step off that bus and walk into the noise and the lights, something breaks open inside you that will never close again. The kids there talk differently, they dress differently, they carry themselves like they belong to a different species entirely. And you realize for the first time that the world is enormous and your village is completely invisible to it. That trip rewired everything. His name is Liu Qiangdong, and he had 86,400 seconds every single day to turn a village boy who dreamed about pork into the man who built China's answer to Amazon. This is 86,400 stories. Episode 23, The Village Boy Who Out-Amazoned Amazon. Liu Qiangdong studied like his life depended on it, because it did. In China, there is one exam that decides everything. The Gaokao, one test, one shot, your entire future compressed into a few hours of silence and a pencil. In 1992, Liu scored the highest mark in the entire Suqian region. The highest. Out of every student in every school in every town, the kid from the village with no electricity outscored everyone. When the village found out, 76 elders gathered together. They did not have much, but each one gave him something. A boiled egg, 76 eggs, and 500 yuan. That was their life savings, going to a boy they believed could carry their hopes out of that village and into the world. He chose Renmin University in Beijing, one of the best universities in all of China. He chose to study sociology because he wanted to understand how societies worked, how power moved, how people made decisions. And the moment he arrived in Beijing, a city of 10 million people, a city with lights and cars and buildings that touched the clouds, he understood something that would define his entire career. Knowledge alone is not enough. If you want to escape poverty, you need skills that the market will pay real money for. So while his classmates studied theory and debated philosophy in comfortable classrooms, Liu taught himself computer programming. In the early 1990s, almost nobody in China knew how to write code. It was a rare, expensive, wildly powerful skill. And Liu learned it alone, from borrowed books in the university library late at night, typing on machines that were older than he was, line by line, error by error, until the screen did what he told it to. He started taking freelance coding jobs, made enough money to buy his own computer and a mobile phone, both luxuries in China at the time. Then he did something bold. He took all the money he had earned and invested it in a restaurant. Now here is where the trap enters the story. The restaurant did well at first, but Liu trusted the wrong people. His chef and his cashier started a relationship, and together they began stealing from the business. Money disappeared. Stock vanished. Within months, the restaurant collapsed. Liu lost over 200,000 yuan. Everything he had earned was gone. He was in debt. Back to zero. A university student with no money and a failed business on his record. That was his silent grind. The moment where most people quit and go find a safe job. Liu did not quit. He just followed the lesson and kept moving. After graduating in 1996, Liu got a job at a Japanese health products company. For 2 years, he learned business operations, management systems, and how companies move product from factory to customer. He soaked up every lesson like a sponge in a rainstorm. Then on June 18th, 1998, a date that would become legendary in Chinese retail, he took 12,000 yuan, about $1,700 and rented a booth. Not a shop, not a store, a booth. 4 square meters of space in Zhongguancun, Beijing's chaotic, sprawling, deafening electronics district. A market stall surrounded by thousands of other stalls selling the same computer parts, all screaming for attention, all cutting prices, all selling products that may or may not actually work. He called the company Qiangdong, and he sold magneto-optical drives, a niche computer storage component that most people have never heard of, and even fewer could explain. But here is what made Liu different from every other trader in that market. The thing that turned a 4 square meter booth into a 400 billion yuan empire. He refused to sell fakes. In a market absolutely flooded with counterfeit parts, knockoff components, and scam merchants who would sell you a box of rocks and vanish before you opened it, Liu guaranteed that every single product he sold was authentic and factory sealed. He kept receipts. He honored returns without argument. He treated his 4 square meter booth like it was a flagship department store, and every customer who walked up to his counter like they were his only one. By 2003, he had expanded from 1 booth to 12 stores across Beijing. Things were growing, and then the world tried to shut him down. SARS hit China. The epidemic locked the entire country inside. Nobody went to stores. Nobody walked the streets. Liu's 12 shops went silent overnight. He lost over 8 million yuan. The business was bleeding to death. Most people would have folded, closed the stores, walked away. Liu went online. In 2004, he launched JD.com. He closed every single brick and mortar store and bet his entire future on a website that most Chinese consumers did not trust. E-commerce in China was still sketchy, full of scammers, and most people were terrified of putting their money into a screen. But Liu had spent 6 years building something that money cannot buy, a reputation for honesty. And that reputation followed him online. That was the ultimate vision. Not a product, not a price war, trust. Here is the part that separates Liu Qiangdong from every other tech founder in China. He did not just build a website, he built the roads. Literally. Every other e-commerce company in China relied on third-party delivery services. Shady courier companies that lost packages, broke products, and took weeks to deliver. The customer experience was terrible. Liu looked at that and said, if I cannot trust anyone else to deliver my products properly, I will build my own delivery network from the ground up. He invested billions, not millions, billions, into warehouses, trucks, sorting centers, delivery hubs, and a private logistics army that could reach any corner of China within 24 hours. People thought he was insane. Investors wrote angry letters. Board members questioned his sanity. Financial analysts published reports saying JD.com was burning through cash faster than it could ever earn it back. Building your own delivery infrastructure across a country with 1.4 billion people spread across a landmass the size of all of Europe was considered financial suicide by every expert who looked at a spreadsheet. That was the ultimate boss move. The move that nobody else had the guts or the vision to make. Because while Alibaba was a marketplace where anyone could sell anything, including fakes, knockoffs, and scams, JD.com bought its own inventory, stored it in its own warehouses, and delivered it with its own drivers. Same-day delivery, next-day delivery, in a country with 1.4 billion people spread across a landmass the size of Europe. In those early years, Liu lived in his office to save money on rent. He wrote the code for the website himself. He answered every single customer question personally, setting an alarm clock to wake him up every 2 hours through the night so no message went unanswered. He even delivered packages himself on a bicycle. In 2005, someone offered to buy JD.com for 18 million yuan. Liu said no. In 2014, JD.com went public on the NASDAQ in New York. The IPO raised $1.8 billion, the largest initial public offering for a Chinese internet company in American history. The village boy from Chang'an had just rung the bell on Wall Street. Today, JD.com operates over 3,600 warehouses covering 34 million square meters. It is the largest retailer in China by revenue. It employs hundreds of thousands of people, and it delivers packages faster and more reliably than almost any company on the planet, including Amazon. Liu Qiangdong's net worth sits at approximately $8 billion. He stepped down as CEO in 2022, but remains chairman of JD.com, guiding the company's long-term strategy from the boardroom. His wife Zhang Zetian, known across China as Sister Milk Tea, is an entrepreneur and philanthropist in her own right. Together, they have built the Tianqiang Charitable Fund, donating books to over 100 rural schools across China. In 2022, Liu pledged $2.3 billion in JD.com shares to charity, one of the largest philanthropic commitments in Chinese history. And every single year, without fail, he goes back to Chang'an village and gives cash, clothing, and food to every household. The boy who dreamed about pork now makes sure his entire village eats like kings. That is true power. He did not just escape the village, he went back for it. He carried it with him. Every warehouse he built, every delivery he made, every line of code he wrote. It all started with a plate of pork that a little boy could not have. So now I have to ask you the question. What is your excuse? Liu Qiangdong grew up in a village with no electricity, no running water, and no hope on the horizon. He ate corn and potatoes for months on end, while other children in Beijing ate whatever they wanted. His entire village scraped together 76 eggs and 500 yuan to send him to university, and he carried that weight on his shoulders every single day. He failed at a restaurant and lost everything he had earned. He built 12 stores and then watched SARS burn them to the ground. He built a delivery empire from scratch that every single expert in China said was impossible, reckless, and stupid. And he turned a 4 square meter market stall into the largest retailer in the most populated country on the face of the earth. He did all of it inside the same 86,400 seconds you and I wake up with every single morning. No extra hours, no shortcuts, just a decision to keep building when every voice around him was telling him to stop. Take the pain of the trap and use it as fuel. Build your empire in the places nobody else is brave enough to go. And fight for the ultimate flex, the version of your life where you do not just succeed for yourself but carry your entire village with you. The pen is in your hands, and possibility has no postcode. See you in the next account. This has been 86,400 stories, hosted by Mayo. Every second there is a story.